What is up, everybody? Welcome to Watchpoint. This is our first show of the year. I hope everyone had a good Christmas. Hope everyone had a good holiday. Don't want to leave anybody out. We took kind of a longer break, than usual, but we wanted to get comfortable back into it. We're getting our feet wet now. So it's kind of rusty a bit. We kind of got a technical bugs in the first couple seconds of, going on Twitch, but we're working everything out. But before we get into our topics for the day, I do want to welcome back Yiska.
Hello.
And Volcha.
Hello.
So how was your guys' break? Have you guys been playing Overwatch much? I know we talked a bit about this before the show, but just kind of, getting everybody's break into it first.
I haven't been playing any Overwatch for the most part.
Okay. Have you been playing anything else?
I've been playing Brawlhalla and some single-player games, but pretty much Brawlhalla for my PvP fix.
Okay. No shooter, no FPSs or anything?
No, very sadly, no.
Okay. Yes, I know that you said you've been playing some WoW, so Blizzard, but not Overwatch, really?
Yeah, my wrist is still pretty bad. I mean, I played some in the beginning of the season, and that didn't really motivate me to play more either, so I don't know.
I've been playing a lot, surprisingly, because it's the tank meta and I'm a tank main, so it's fun for me. But the kind of basis of the show that I want to flesh out real fast is, Volcha said something when we were kind of coming up with ideas, and you can kind of hear it from Yiska, is that a lot of people actually think this meta sucks. Like this season in general, the tank meta, which it's been kind of growing, and then season 3 it kind of like became stable, and that's just what everybody runs now, is this 3. Sometimes in tournaments they run 4, but really don't see it in pubs too much, as far as I've seen, with the Ana boost and everything like that. Some people hate it, some people absolutely distaste for it, or some people just don't care and they just still do the 4 DPS. And Volcha, you kind of expressed that this is maybe not the single factor, it could be, but that this is why you've been kind of staying away from the game, because you've been kind of bored of it, I guess.
Yeah, I'd actually say the last 2 seasons, it's kind of been like a slow crushing of my will over the last 2 seasons of I just feel like I'm dying primarily to abilities and ultimates. Like that's what's killing me, not good aim or good position or good plays. It's just abilities and ultimates, and that's kind of got me not wanting to play the game anymore at this point. I guess that's the main issue I have right now.
I mean, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, there's actually another lever that, or another mechanic that makes it so. It's not only that ultimates are so overwhelming, and that's why you get killed by them primarily, but it's also that it's very hard to die with like super high HPS healers like Ana, right? Yeah. So even if you mess up and someone out aims you, there's still the fallback net where the Ana just burst heals you way too hard, and then it has to come down to ultimates, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've been kind of seeing this with obviously the Ana nerfs on the PTR, I believe, right now, and with the change that already went live with the ultimates being brought back, and also on the PTR right now, Ana's being swapped completely. It just kind of seems like they're noticing these things, but they're not noticing them fast enough, and it's kind of leaving a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth.
Well, it's been 2 seasons that Ana's been like this, and she had a slight adjustment. Well, not a slight, a considerable nerf to her ultimate, and that was just one part of her kit that was pretty oppressive. It makes me wonder if this style of gameplay is kind of what Blizzard wants, or the Overwatch team wants, if they're okay with this kind of like you don't die unless you're out of position, or if you're a squishy, I guess. I don't know. I'm wondering if this is something that they kind of seeing as a healthy way to play the game.
Yeah, it's weird because it's coming to the point where I mean, you kind of had this opinion the whole time coming from the FPS mindset, where it's like, if it's too MOBA-y to be considered an FPS, where these abilities are stronger than the actual, I guess you could say, the grassroots mechanics of the game. The game is a point and shoot game, unless you're Reinhardt, I guess. But there's not enough FPS in this like FPS MOBA marriage that we have going on right now.
It seems like guns serve two purposes: charge alt, break shields. Like that's all guns do, in my opinion, right now, and that makes me very sad.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain characters that can burn. I mean, but like Widow, which is something I've been wondering for the longest time. She's been considered dead unless you're a Widow main and you get kills all the time. I understand there are those people, but is an overall basis a sniper rifle. When you think of an FPS, you think that you have your assault rifle, your shotguns, your pistols, and a sniper rifle. Snipers, Hanzo and Widowmaker are considered by most as bad, which is it's weird to not have a sniper or a long range character in the game that can be considered okay. I mean, Anna, but she's more so a healer than anything.
Yeah, I think it's hard to call Hanzo like really a sniper, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
but the thing is, I think he's actually not that bad, honestly, against tanks for the most part, especially because he also shreds shields pretty well.
Okay. So what do you think is the solve, which is the $1 million question? Do you think they need to tune back ultimates even more?
I think
and make abilities do less damage, or
this is an opinion of a sub masters player, but I feel like the game kind of has three problems going on right now. One is how ultimates are earned. Healing is too strong, and the third one is the hard counters are too hard, and then when they're not, but except for when they're not. To make this a little bit confusing. So, for example, like Tracer, I guess you could say counters Zenyatta. So if they have a Zenyatta, you probably want to go Tracer to nullify him for most part. Reaper is supposed to be the counter for tanks, except he's not. So I feel like this strange, it's like a weird mix of hard and soft counters, and it kind of doesn't pair out in the end to consistent gameplay. I think they should either go one way or the other. Go soft counters with strong like base abilities, or go hard counters and just have the game about counterplay, which I would hope they don't.
Are you kind of saying basically like if they pick a tank, picking a Reaper is a good idea, but if they pick 3 tanks, that Reaper's not going to be able to kill all those tanks?
Yeah, but at least go 1v1 or trade. And Reaper doesn't seem to have that ability right now. I can't see that happening, I guess.
Like against which tank does he outright win? As
Winston.
Yeah.
Okay, but Winston is not really in the meta, is it?
No. Yeah.
So Reinhardt is like, okay, kind of, okay. That doesn't really happen that you're one against one against Reinhardt. Roadhog is not a sure win at all.
No.
Certainly not D.Va.
Yeah.
So it's getting, it's a little bit of an issue there.
Mm-hmm. So he hard counters Winston and slightly soft counters, almost not really, the other tanks.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like a strange role. And that seems to be present across the hero pool for a lot of things.
Yeah. So this is something that I've been reading in chat a bit. Where did it go? So the problem basically made me made me think back to where we had an issue previously where, Mei was trash, Hanzo was trash, all the defense characters, that category, were just not seen. And that was more so back in the 2-2-2 or, sometimes even 3-1 with 2 healers, is that we had this subsection where defense characters are never played. And even myself bitched that it's stupid to have this meta where, a huge portion of the characters aren't even being played. And so now we have, once again, a meta where it's all tanks and there's 13 DPS characters that are just not being played. You see Soldier, Genji, things like that, but you're not seeing a whole subsection of the team.
I think
so.
Go ahead.
It's like it's just like considering. I mean, Blizzard's done this for years. It's this thing where they continuously pass the torch to who's considered OP or who's on top because they think it's fair that everyone takes their turn. But it's weird to see that it's like when you see tournaments, you see 4 tanks. That seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. I haven't watched too much, so I guess I'm gonna get some help from Yiska here. Is there? I mean, from the tournaments, if they're not super high profile, but from the tournaments recently, is this still continuing on? Is it just pure tanks and everything like that everyone's complaining about?
There's also because of the quality of the games, I guess. Some teams,
they're not super high profile, but
the thing is, like also like tier 2 or tier 3 teams will often try different compositions to simply cheese a win, right? Because you can't. They probably don't have the firepower or confidence to go toe to toe in these mirror matchups. So, I mean, even looking at the meta report, it's sort of fading, but not really. I mean, the next changes might just be enough, but yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, there has been some experimentation, I guess it's fair to say.
I mean, I'm trying to absorb some from the chat too to get some interaction. And people are saying that while Reaper beats Winston and he's supposed to beat other tanks like Ryan, Ryan's just kind of shitting all over everybody right now, and it's kind of like the battle of the Reinhardts.
I think the Reinhardt issue is down to his ultimate. I mean, you can't have a Ryan on one team and not have a Ryan on the other team. You're just going to get flattened by Earth Shatter, and that would, I guess, fall under my criticism about how shitty ultimates feel right now. I mean, that's one of them. It's awful. It sucks. You can't have a Rhine and non-Rhine matchup, really.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is El Gordo in chat said that, I saw the Reddit post too. It's always going to be, there always is going to be by the end of the season, this like, everyone just kind of like decompresses and bitches about season 1 was coin flip, season 2 was Beyblade, season 3 is tank meta. But if you really think about it, halfway through season 2, when Anna got popular, tank meta's been longer than season 3. It's not just season 3. It's not like we've been dealing with it for like a month. We've been dealing with it since like halfway through October. Yeah,
definitely early season 2 with NIP kind of, finding it,
It becomes this, okay, well, we hope maybe a character will get released, and then that character will shake up the meta. But look at Sombra. Sombra is garbage. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and there's certain team comps where you can pull off combos and things like that, but for the most part, she's just not seen. She's not balanced correctly. And so this, hope for this savior to come in and change everything is just not going to happen.
I think her main problem right now is that she's not a tank.
But nice. Where do you go in that though? Because most tanks have armor, right? So you need someone that melts armor, or someone that can. You'd think that someone could shut down a character. Like if someone gets Ana boosted, you can hack them and it should go away, but it doesn't. That's not how that works. I mean, which could be interesting actually.
There's also the issue that map layouts really support tanks, because if you think about what tanks, other than I guess D.Va and Reinhardt mobility is also not yet, like if a Reinhardt is moving with his charge, like he's not shielding his team. So, but the choke issue is that it makes it so you can't really exploit them. Almost, right? Because if you think about it, there's a constant dead zone around Roadhog. Reinhardt shields that zone up, and then there's really only D.Va being very mobile, which is kind of, I guess, a strange break with the usual tank archetype you see in other games, right? Yeah. Which is quite interesting, and I don't even have that much of an issue with her mobility for the most part. But I guess then the answer could also be to have more open maps in a way, right? Because once you open the box for more compositions on different maps, that might also, because then teams need to practice for other maps, and need to practice certain other heroes, and maybe that bleeds over into the meta because let's be real, like tank meta is probably not the absolute best on every single map. You just can't justify practicing on now 14 different maps, and right.
I mean, yeah, we've had this discussion about map pool, but that's completely different because uh but how do you go against that? Because the developers of, Jeff and everything, they've talked about this idea of they don't want to open maps up because then it makes, characters who are super squishy. It makes snipers just immediately better because they get this, open range to shoot if they get a high perch. Or it makes people without mobility, if they can't get across gaps, they're just walking ducks in a field. But it's kind of breaking that mentality when if tight corridors and big fat dudes can go around and just beat everybody up, that these corridors are making tanks better in general.
Yeah, I mean, all the tanks are kind of short range ish type heroes,
Yeah.
and the maps do support that, but there's also not a lot of characters that can, fight outside and like heckle a tank outside of a tank range. Really, I mean, soldier, yeah, but he can't get picks really. I mean, he can like suppress sort of, and he can break shields, but he's not going to kill anybody. Hanzo, not really. He's not a long range character really, unless you're like looking for lucky bullshit. And other than that, there's Widow, or you could go projectile characters, which are just wholly unviable right now. So I don't know. That's something else to consider. Is that there's not a lot of characters that fight outside of a tank's range.
So where do you draw the line? Okay, we had this discussion before we went live, which is where can we tell the developers, which is up to them to listen to where you can let things sit and let it develop, and maybe the players itself will change it, into where the developers need to step in and take action. Because if you look at something like a MOBA, where even if it's the shittiest meta possible, MOBAs update, I mean, they might hotfix, but if it's something extremely broken, but MOBAs have this long span of X amount of months where it just goes and you go and you develop and you just use the best strategy possible. People accept it. Unless something's broken, it's not going to get changed. But I don't know if we have enough characters to do that. So I don't know if there's enough variety to where eventually somebody will find the counter, or the strat to kill the tank meta.
I guess. I'm sorry, I'm talking again. It seems to me that that's almost like a values question. Like, what player characteristics does Blizzard want to promote to cause a win? Do you want people with like good aim to win, or do you want people with like good sense of like ult economy, or do you want people with good sense of like position, all the other things, good cooldown management? So in that sense, they might see this current meta and be okay with it. They might be like, oh, we're okay with a position, teamwork, and cooldown management and ult management / economy type game. Like maybe that's what they value, and maybe that's what they're going for. If that's what they're going for, then they're fine with what they got.
Yeah. I think this is where it actually gets boring for the vast majority of people, because what this meta did was it actually just gutted the ability of the star player, right? It's all very equal impact, sort of. The only real, like, if you think about 4 tanks, 2 healers, the only character that really can make outstanding plays is like Roadhog, I guess, and that is so that there you want your star player to be, and we have seen some pretty impressive plays, I guess, on Roadhog, even though it feels cheap in some ways, and often you get bullshitted by the current version of Hook around a shield or something.
Yeah.
But in general, and that's I think the biggest issue is that we don't have this machinery of producing star players that people can hold on to. Because actually I made a video like last year in February, and I raised the point in saying that team wins aren't sexy. Like, if you look at the vast majority of sports, there's always these personalities like a Ronaldo or, I don't know, like a LeBron or whatever. If your game allows like one player to shine, this will always be better for the vast majority of viewers.
Mm-hmm.
And this is currently not happening, right? So while I personally, and I guess we disagree on this, I value stability and really don't want or need novelty through constant meta switch ups. The biggest issue with is that this meta is really not a fun one to observe, right? It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fun for me because I don't see Taimu dominating an enemy team other than the odd Roadhog situation. Because let's be real, even if he hooks like a tank, what's going to happen? He hooks a D.Va? Yeah, well, nice. Flies off, right? So, okay, the only fun thing is, I guess, if he gets a healer, and that's obviously instantly huge impact, but healers play around that too, so I don't know, man.
No, I mean, like, I completely understand what you mean, because it's these plays where DPS characters are supposed to be flashy, but the tank meta right now is just, well, if you kill a tank, you're just going to pull a guy in, they're going to die, and then you're going to pull another guy in, and they're going to die, or you're going to charge someone against the wall, and they're going to die. It's not these big plays where, if, you know, a Zarya ults, and then a Genji gets boosted, and he jumps up, and he flies over, and he slices the whole team in half, and he chases the people down through corridors and things like that. It's just this bullying match of these big two mobs of players, these teams, trying to not be the first one to make the mistake, and then everything just falls apart. And I don't know if that's the initial design of Overwatch that they're kind of creating, or if it's the meta. Because if they, I mean, they've always pushed this thing where it's team. When you look at things like MOBAs, there's a carry. There's one person who is supposed to either they snowball, or they, buckle down and stay safe the entire game and then come out at the end and they just whoop ass. Or in, traditional like CSGO and things like that, you could be super, super good at aim and you could take on a 1v3 or something and clutch the match. But those are due to their mechanics, obviously. And it just kind of seems like they're focusing too much on this. Everyone has to work together and no one can shine. No one wants to be the, someone's going to have to heal. Someone's going to have to do the mercy job, but they want them to feel, as part of the team too. Nobody wants to feel like the worst, because if somebody has to feel like the worst, somebody's going to be the best. But everyone wants to be the best. If that was kind of convoluted, but I hope it made sense.
That makes sense, and it kind of plays into the suspected reasonings of other developments in the game, like the current scoreboard iteration and some other things. It's kind of this like slightly bubble wrapped type of philosophy, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't like bubble wrap in my FPS games. I'll just say that.
It's also, if you think about it, like the only reason, or I guess I assume that's one big reason, is that Anna is allowed to dominate so long, is that she's actually just the most fun healer to play, right? Yeah. I guess if you only have 3 healers, which we do currently, right? And the worst thing that can happen is basically that Mercy is the strong healer, because as we have seen, those nerfs fly in pretty quickly across, what we've seen from the beta on. Okay, to be fair, my argument kind of breaks with Lucio, but I think Blizzard actually really tried to get him out of the meta. They just haven't grasped that it's still is going to be ridiculous with the office until you have an alternative, right? And
the speed is his thing.
Exactly, and that doesn't even have to come from a support, right? It could be a tank that provides speed or a similar mechanic, right? But in terms of viability, I guess like they just didn't like their idea was, okay, if we nerf Anna into the ground or into a state where she isn't insta picked, well, what's the alternative? I guess it's Mercy then, right?
Yep.
So,
I think
go ahead.
they should they did a global ultimate charge rate nerf that was well received like across the board.
Yeah.
Everyone liked it. I think maybe like a global healing reduction, pretty significant, might kind of solve a lot of this. I mean, you wouldn't have the as strong like Mercy Anna like oh you can't play Anna Mercy now, like or never use Zen. Maybe it would solve some of that and get rid of like the fact that you can't burst down a tank with something healing it. I mean, it
Yeah.
would also affect Soldier. Soldier's heal's pretty legit too. I mean, he drops it
Mm.
onto tank, and it's pretty beefy.
Yeah.
It does seem like there's this consecutive because tanks are so beefy and they have such strong heals behind them. That's what created this meta, and it's not so much Anna in her other stuff. It's because she has such strong healing, and like you said, if you just knock her away, the next person's gonna fall in line. But then it's almost like if you remove one domino, you have to replace it with another. So what is this going to cause to where if you nerf healing, are snipers and something else going to take its place, which isn't a bad thing, but our tank's going to completely fall flat.
I don't think so. They have such incredibly strong abilities. I mean, Roadhog Hook is one of the best abilities in the game. Reinhardt Shield, one of the best in the game. Zarya's ultimate is probably one of the best ultimates in the game. Tanks just have really good abilities and really good ultimates. So I don't see them leaving because those are still extremely strong bits of the game right now.
Yep.
I mean, your suggestion with healing nerf, I think, would be very well received also in the pro player community. The problem is, if I think of the usual support player, if you take power away from them, like there's so few people that already enjoy support, and now those people are being forced, and then it feels like your power level is even lower. Like, I don't
You need
know.
more utility.
Yeah, then you would have to buff other areas that would make you feel powerful in another sense, because it really sucks knowing that you're like 5% of the win, right? Even though you're necessary, that you just need to be there, and how you perform doesn't really matter that much, and you don't really have power plays too much. But yeah, in general, it is a problem that nothing dies, right?
Slowing down Anna's fire rate. I mean, that's initially. I'm reading off the chat. That's innately going to lower her healing technically, but it's still going to raise the issue that we were talking about, where even if you took Anna out, someone else is going to move into her place. So you're going to bring back the Mercy and Zen and things like that into where, yeah, they don't heal as much, but people are still just going to adapt, and
That
you
would
don't want to also nerf her to the ground.
that would also make her a lot less fun to play, I think, and
Mhm.
that would be a problem. I mean, I don't. Her raw healing, I think, is the problem. Nerfing rate of fire would be a way to lower that, but you can lower that without making it less fun by just dropping the fact that she heals so much in some other
Yeah.
fashion through grenade or through just her shots itself.
Do you think that the grenade nerf is going to be enough? Because I've actually heard that it's not even. It was just like shaving the top of the head. Like it didn't do too much.
No, I'm kind of well. I'm very pessimistic at this point because this meta's been like this for so long that
Yeah.
I don't see it fixing it. I think it's going to continue like this.
Because there were a few changes. So the ones that I know of is the Anna grenade nerf. They went ahead and they did the D.Va switch. So now a lot of people are saying that the D.Va is almost garbage. Like D.Va, and with the hook change, that Roadhog is having trouble too. So they're trying to change the abilities of the tanks rather, because, well, not ability for D.Va, but D.Va, her health got swapped. So instead of 400 armor and 200 health, she now has 200 armor and 400 health.
Isn't
And
it
that's
300 on the PTR?
Did they do that?
I think I read it somewhere. I'm not sure.
I can actually bring it up. But either way, that it seems like they're kind of avoiding the health and healing thing, and they're trying to change the abilities and the armor around. Because D.Va, with her added armor, and with Anna still being prevalent, kind of impacted even more. Where we had the initial tank, like the Ninjas of Pajamas strat, and with the D.Va change, it kind of cemented it in. And with the Anna nerf and the D.Va nerf and the Roadhog hook nerf, do you still? I mean, it's kind of being pessimistic about it, obviously, because it's been so long. So it's until it happens, you can't really say for sure. But you don't think that that's going to affect enough?
I'm happy with them lowering ability effectiveness. I like that a lot because I mean, hook sucks. It doesn't suck if you play Roadhog though. I mean, it's a lot of fun, but
Oh yeah,
it's one of those abilities in the game where it happens to you and you just go like, "Fuck my life, what the fuck?" And it just makes you mad, and it feels. Oftentimes it feels low skill. Sometimes it is like really high skill, and you know if you got a kill cam on and you see it and you go like, "Wow, holy shit, that was a hell of a hook." Other times you're just like come on, like Scatter Arrows like that, and to some extent Widow body shots, and a little bit like Helix Rocket maybe. But anyway, I don't think it's gonna fix it. The D.Va change is really weird. It sounds like they are trying to get Reaper in there somehow, but I don't know.
The issue with Roadhog is also kind of like, take Roadhog's hook. Just let's just have this thought experiment. Just take it away, for instance.
Okay.
Like that, he's not killing anyone, right? Like
no,
his right click, obviously. Like, okay, but how often do even pro players get these perfect right clicks where it just blows up a Lucio with one shot? Not very often, right? It's super hard to hit. And then whoever gets close to a Roadhog, he doesn't have mobility, so he really is only designed around the hook. And the strength of the character is really based entirely around how well his hook functions, right? So the issue would be, if you nerf the hook, you would either have to buff him in some other regard, but I wouldn't even know how, or maybe give him some power on the ultimate,
like a jetpack or something.
When pigs fly, right?
Yeah. Jesus.
But yeah, I mean, he is strong. His gun is decent, but he's just slow. You guys haven't played the Hook 2.0, but I mean, they've kind of taken that, like the glitchy hook, which I'm gonna say it doesn't exist because I play Roadhog a lot and I like the way it works. But they've kind of taken that away. And I just checked the patch notes and they changed the D.Va. Yeah, I guess we'll have to sit and see how it comes out. But I do think that they need to overall look at these things a little bit faster, which is something we've always said.
I still think after the PTR change, I'm still going to be dying mainly to ultimates or abilities, and not because someone's a good shot or outplayed me with position.
So besides, I mean, I guess I could say Hanzo, McCree, Widow. I can't even think of other things that are like, you get caught out. That's not a machine gun or something. Good shot, I guess. Yeah. Other than those three, you're saying you want more skill-based, like FPS characters, rather?
Yeah, I'd like to get killed by an accurate Junkrat, or Pharah actually exist again, who can maybe juggle and maybe hit someone just right to get them out of position and then kill them. That would be nice to happen. Be nice to have Widow. I can't believe I'm saying this because I really hate snipers in FPS games, especially one-hit kill snipers, and I mean, it would be nice to have Widow come back in some way that's meaningful. I don't know. Those would be, I don't know, some pretty core characters that I think should be in the game and strong presences instead of D.Va or I guess to some extent Zarya maybe. I mean, she's quite the force still, even after her changes.
It's weird to look at the game after the ult change, like the nerf, I guess you could say, to the ult change, because it really doesn't seem like anything happened. It still seems like ults are everywhere and abilities are everywhere, like you're saying. So well, yes, we might need to sit on this for a little bit more before they go ahead and, they say, oh, the numbers are correlating between what you're saying, and I'll actually go ahead and change it. But it does seem like they need to tweak it still back a tiny bit more because it is whether hardcore FPS fans like it or not, it is a little bit of a marriage between a MOBA. So there has to be these abilities. But I think you're absolutely right that these are it's still the press Q and win game or the, get whatever ability off and you win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At high levels too, they really leverage that too as best as
Well,
they
yeah,
can.
especially because they're more coordinated with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like that's their play for the most part. Like they don't even go like, okay, we're gonna have so and so, beast. They're just like, okay, we're going to combo these alts and we're gonna charge and manage our alts a little bit better than they are, and we're gonna win the shield fight. Like that's how it goes down, and I don't know. It's just a testament to how strong ultimates are in this game and how that's how you win games for the most part is our ultimates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to come from new heroes, which is something which we have to understand is that the game is still developing. So taking a break from the game and coming back to the game when it's a little bit more developed is still perfectly fine. It's something I've done with multiple games, but it's this struggle against it's extremely popular right now. And if it's causing distaste to people because of the way that they're creating the game, it's going to push people away from the game. It's going to be
Yeah.
something to where if somebody bought it and they're playing it over Christmas and they're just getting shit on over and over and over again, it's gonna they're not going to come back. It's not going to be something that they're invested in. That they're going to be like, all right, I'm going to go play another game for a little bit and then I'll come back and I'll play it. Or like even myself, when the WoW expansion came out, I took a break and I played WoW for a little while and then I came back and I played Overwatch and it's this teeter totter of how the game's going because whether you like it or not, the game's not fully fleshed out yet, obviously.
Yeah.
So
And
even though it's out, it's not out.
I think it's also a problem that most of the time, even big content patches don't even feel like that much of a pull. Because
No.
even if you get a new character, that's really like if I want to play sorta competitive, there's no guarantee that I'm going to be able to play the character, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then I could play quick play with, and not even quick play anymore, I guess. But like the content is really not pulling you in as much as a new season in another game would, right? In the sense that everything changes, everything switches up, right? And I
Mhm.
think even though I personally really dislike this notion that everything needs to switch up and that novelty needs to come from different metas, I have to concede that this is how the majority of players function, right?
It-
It,
it's how, I mean, I'll just say it myself. It's how I've been conditionalized over the past 5, 6 years is that when we play MOBAs or we play even WoW to an extent a little bit when they were, anyways, it's this you play a little bit and then you roll the dice and it's a brand new game. You get a new rule book, you get a new whatever, and it's the same base game, but you learn all these new things. You come back, you have a little fun. It's like it's enough of the same with a lot different. But when they release like Oasis was released a couple days ago, and it's like, oh, cool, we'll play Oasis a few times, and then it's gone in a week. And so it's too bite size. I mean, think about it when I wasn't in the beta, I'll admit, but when the beta was out for a little bit, and then BlizzCon happened, and then they're like, here's 3 new characters, here's new maps. That content patch had to have been a huge drop in chunk
Yep.
of content for people to last them for a while. And so I hope that Blizzard kind of once they get the game, in the net code or well, the behind the scenes rather is what I was looking for, stuff worked out, is that they're going to release more stuff. Um, and I'd hate to say if they have to charge for it, which they shouldn't have to, but they need to have the ability to give people more to chew on.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know if so. As far as like patches go for added content to shake things up, I really like that a lot. But mostly because I'm like a bit pessimistic and I'm afraid of like stale metas being not fun, like this one being not fun. If this was like the Junkrat meta, I would never want it to change ever again, and I'd play it forever. No, but I don't know. Oftentimes that's what happens with metas is they're like the cancer build or whatever, and oftentimes it's not the fun way to play. So like a Genji Tracer sort of meta, that's nuts. That's a lot of fun, and I don't think anybody called it cancer, did they? Unless it was King of the Hill. Then it was like double Tracer, but like Zen, whatever the big Genji Tracer buff the Genji Tracer with Zens and Symmetras was, but I don't know if I'd call that like a cancer meta. Like big tank, like this meta is cancerous. So I guess I rambled a little bit there, but I mean, my point is, I guess it depends on the meta. If the meta's fun, then I'm okay with it staying the same for the most part for quite a while. If the meta's not fun, then I want it to switch like immediately, and I don't care how.
Yeah. It's just the. Go ahead, sir.
If you think about it, like how much the community and the pro players cried when it was like double Zen, double
when we had no hero limit.
Yeah, double Genji or something. That's actually preferable to the current meta.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like if you had no hero limit now, I remember Skipjack posted like, I would honestly prefer no hero limits over what we're having right now. And I wrote, you got it, boss? 4 D.Vas, 2 Annas coming up. Or something. And he's like, 2 minutes later, he's like, disregard everything I said in my last tweet. Like 5 minutes later, obviously that would be much worse. Yeah. So, yeah.
So would you say that you're still, you still like, I mean, obviously everyone wants stability. Everybody doesn't want it to shake up too fast. But do you think that we'll ever get to that comfortable plane of existence, the promised land, where it's, patch notes don't need to be released every month? It's just going to change with the way that people are playing, like flavor of the month.
Hey, I think we could easily get there. I think Blizzard's not going to let it happen, though. Yeah. Because that's not what the player base attracts, right? Even if the meta game would I don't know, through pro player innovation would constantly switch up. And even for instance, something like in Brood War, for instance, like for years, certain races were considered absolutely overpowered. And then along comes some guy that figures out you can stick mutas. And he becomes like a Bonjour and is like one of the sickest players in the game for a while with Zerg. Like, this is not going to happen with Overwatch. We can expect constant patches. And that's the same part that I once had an argument with a Riot developer that claimed they aren't making changes simply for the sake of switching things up, but because they genuinely think they have never attained a state of balance. And that was obviously bullshit. Like, even if he believes that, this is every business person will tell you, no, we need to change this. We need to we need something new. We need to attract people, something we can sell them on. They need to come back. They need a new reason to spend money on these boxes. So even if we ever got to the, Fibonacci formula of Overwatch, this is not going to last longer than 2 months, I don't think.
Yeah. I'm addressing something that was talked in chat again.
Sure.
I don't know how fair this would be. So someone in chat suggested, what if there was, you could only have one tracer, but you're allowed to have 2 mercies? These arbitrary restrictions on certain characters on certain maps, while could be okay, I don't know if I completely agree with it, but it would cause too much restrictions. Blizzard is trying to make this game so accessible to so many people that people would have so many problems with this. People already had problems with the fact that you could only play one hero. People wanted this, unlimited, play whatever the hell you want. Like, it's just a free man's game. You can do, anything, and the competitive scene should just deal with it. it would basically, my baseline would be it would create too many arbitrary rules. Are you guys with me on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it could solve certain issues, but I don't think overall it would be a fix for it.
Kind of neat. I like the idea, kind of like only one Reaper on El Dorado, or you can have two Reapers on El Dorado. I don't know. Dorado, not El Dorado. I don't know. It's kind of a neat idea, but yeah, with all the maps and play types, it would be really
confusing,
mind blowing to a lot of people.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, there's already too many arbitrary stuff as it is. I don't know if we leave off here with a point other than tanks suck. I'm trying to, like, we've had this big discussion, and I want to kind of sum it all up. Besides the fact that Blizzard needs to pay attention a bit more to how players feel rather than the numbers, because feeling, you got to pay attention to my feels. But they need to shake it up sooner. The seasons, when things like that happen to where the seasons bleed together and it's become this drought of continuously the same thing over and over and over and over. Anarch Grenade, just release it as a hotfix. It doesn't need to be this huge patch. Yeah. If it's causing problems and you're seeing, 6 tanks in your tournaments, release a hotfix. Like, what's the issue there?
Or really go nuts on the PTR, like we said before.
Exactly.
Make some crazy ass changes on PTR and let people play there and see what it looks like. Like the 25% ults change, that was huge, and I was happy to see that on PTR. See something like that.
And I can tell you that community figures, so like journalists and, I guess I can name him Slasher, especially, have been promoting to pro players to play on the PTR and actually give feedback, because they've talked to Zan, I guess his name is, what's his name? Jeff Goodman, I think. The lead champion designer, I think he is. And he said he will take feedback from pro players as well. So they have been trying to ramp up feedback from the PTR. Well, if no more pro players actually get onto the PTR, then get crazy and let them try for an evening or a weekend, for instance, and then come back to them and ask, okay, what's realistically going to happen here? And then again, obviously their predictions are not going to be perfect, but they're probably going to be at least of some quality. And then you go to the next thing, right? Mm-hmm. Just go crazy with it, with not these little like changes that don't mean anything. And honestly, at this point, might as well not tell the public about it and make the big changes. If you're concerned about what this tells to the public, like if you have these huge changes and everyone's like throwing their shit, it's like, oh my god, you nerfed my favorite character, and if that's what you're fearing, well, then don't make it public. Make them sign the NDAs. I'm 100% sure, like, the majority of pro players would actually take the time out of their practice stage just to make it a better experience, if it also meant that it would be a better viewership experience.
I want to see ads on the launch, like big fucking monster truck ads, like Sunday only on PTR, no ultimates, something like that to get more people in, just like for a day, just to see what happens.
This is something we have had for people in chat. We have talked about this. We had a big PTR thing. And they just don't, which really pissed me off when I was reading some of the stuff that they said, is that they release these changes on the PTR like they want this to be some big testing ground, but they go in and they change one thing and they go, oh, hey, go check that on the PTR. But if you actually read the PTR notes, like on the forums, it says that currently we will not, basically, I can't think of the word right now. I'm paraphrasing. That's what I was looking for. I'm paraphrasing, but they basically said, yes, you may test this out, but we may not use your feedback. Almost like it doesn't matter what you say, we're just going to put this stuff out. It's fine to keep the game, like the live game, the competitive, what they use to play tournaments at this pristine, whatever the hell. We still don't get why the PTR is not this chaotic, beta test. They just need to change things. If nerf ults, turn off ults, like you said, Vulture, for a weekend. It doesn't have to stay like that. You can turn them back on.
Make it
just
5v5.
see how players.
Like a 5v5 weekend.
See how players react. See what happens. If nobody plays, cool, whatever. It's PTR.
Even if you want to be smart about it, I don't know. Maybe you need to trick the community and sort of accepting this, but make it a brawl, right, for a weekend.
Yeah, because some people don't want to download a whole new client or whatever, but
like a live brawl, like the 5v5 brawl. Yeah.
I mean, they had Fair of Mercy where everyone was just floating in a circle. That was stupid as shit. I mean, why not just have no alt brawl? I mean, yeah, some characters aren't going to get played, but just see how people react.
You know what? Something just occurred to me. What we're asking for is, it's almost like we're hungry for this experimentation. This is stuff that a moddable or private server type game would have for us, and the community would kind of like figure out what's the best way to play from all these experiments. So like, whatever game it might be, like whatever the settings, crazy stuff would be thrown out, figured out, and then you eventually settle on like a really fun mode for that game. We can't do that with this game right now because it's so, closed just by design. So maybe they should step up and fill the shoes that the community would be doing right now, which would be like throwing the crazy shit out and seeing like what is the best way to play this game.
Go ahead.
No, Yugi, go ahead.
That's why I don't get it, because I come from, like Dota. Dota had created this whole subset, and people are going to cringe when I say this, but when I played Counter-Strike Source, I mainly played like Death Run, Zombie, and like mini game servers and things like that, to where it's like, yeah, you still have the main game. It's not like you're taking away from that game, but create these subsets. And even if you're like, no, we can't let people do that because they're going to make like porn mod servers and things like that, don't let the community do it. Make like a team of like 5 people of interns or something who, if they do something stupid, you can fire them, but let them just like tweak a few knobs on the PTR and, make some crazy shit.
Give them free booze and like and
then
like weed, just get them fucked up and like send them out.
Yeah.
All right. I think
but in other, for instance, in CS:GO, you have this guy's Sloth Squadron, and he's like the guy. He knows he honestly knows more about how CS:GO and its config works more than probably any developer at Wealth.
Yeah.
And he can exactly tell you when something is weird or something with hitboxes or something. He knows exactly which number to tweak. And he made his own version of the game. And even though this obviously isn't, played as a competitive feature right now, it's still something where you can go, actually, that's a quite fun idea. And he is actually able to release these updates much more quickly than any developer could, because he doesn't have this quality, assurance he needs to have as a big company, right? Especially as Blizzard, because they're obviously very concerned about the quality of their product. Mm-hmm. So because they are actually, we don't have that many options, we also can't really help as much as we would normally be able to. For instance, as we would in other games where you can readily fix the config around, right? So if that's not the case, well, then you need another tool or another mechanic that lets the community be involved in how the game is shaped, and this has to be the PTR, and the PTR then also needs to be advertised. Why can't you why can't you gain boxes from the PTR? Why can't you gain boxes at an increased rate from the PTR? Yep. Right? Huh? So this needs to be promoted, and because also not only properly feedback is important in making a fun game for everyone, right? So everyone should be getting onto the PTR and testing out. Even the gold players, like, is the game fun at that level now, right? So I don't know. It needs to be supported better, and I think just by virtue, even if the community was just dribblers, just only bullshit would come out of it, it would still be, it would still soothe the community in a sense that we now have at least some say in this, right?
Okay. I guess the on an ending note here, because we're kind of actually, I was afraid we were going to be kind of rough, but we kind of worked ourselves up towards the end. On an ending note, which is something we've talked about before, is that the mentality of Blizzard needs to open up a bit, which it's their game, it's their product, they do it with it what you will. But when the masses of people, even if it's just a vocal, we're not bitching. We're not saying the game is trash. We're not, the game itself is horrible, but oh no.
No, you're not saying that about what's happening.
My thing loaded real fast, so I was making sure I was still live. But it's this thing where it needs to change. Something needs to happen. Something needs to open up a bit. And while we understand that you have this pristine quality that you need to upkeep, that you also just need to chill, man. Just let people have fun. Give people a reason to test your game. They're trying to push this esports thing so much that they're sucking all of the life out of it, and it's becoming this like suit and tie game where it has to be so professional. You can have these, this PTR where everything is crazy.
Yeah, a suit and tie game where you can kill an entire team with one button, by the way.
Yeah.
Doesn't it give you like kind of the impression how they handle all their products is like this kid that starts crying when it gets an A- because it didn't, hand in its best product, and if it's anything but a straight A, it's a problem. I don't know. It's strange.
Yeah. I like it. I love the game, the way that the game looks. It looks so good. But you need to chill. You need to let people have some fun. I don't know if do you guys have much other you want to harp on too much on Blizzard anymore?
Just looking forward to changes for next season. Big changes.
Yeah, change. Okay. That was a nice start to the year. I apologize if we were a bit rough and, getting back in our quirks in the beginning. But do you guys have, I know, Vulture, you said you haven't been playing much, but are you streaming any games? Because are you doing anything on the side? Are you just kind of rolling solo?
I'm just kind of rolling around in Brawlhalla. I'm actually going to be... I'm waiting for a new graphics card for when tax return time comes, and then I'll probably be streaming again. The computer's having trouble streaming at this point, so then I'll start streaming again.
Are you working on anything yourself, Yisko?
Currently, I'm quite lazy, but I gotta ramp up towards it. Like, it's also obviously tied to European teams basically going extinct right now, right? So it feels, even though I always try to free myself of this national bias, it's still like if European teams are playing, it's at least in my time zone, right? So I can't watch games live and everything. And Real United was one of my favorite teams. So currently I'm really bummed out a little bit, and obviously it's because of the Overwatch League, which I already don't have a certain dislike for. So currently I'm kind of, yeah.
Do we have anything to look forward to as far as tournaments go?
Well, one qualifier is going on right now. It's Winter Premier or Premier Winter or something. And then apparently, like, people have been saying there's 2 tournaments announced. Obviously, OG and Apex Season 2 is starting too. So Envy, Fnatic, Cloud9. I think one more Western team is flying out to Korea right now. Mm-hmm. So that will be actually very fun. That will rekindle it for me. But yeah, we actually need some Western tournaments, man.
Okay.
We need them soon.
Okay. And this is, so for myself, a little bit of self-plugging. Well, not self-plugging, but I'm plugging these nerds in the chat. So over the Christmas break, I found this awesome Discord called the Lion's Den, and that's what's been populating our chat today. So for anyone watching on YouTube, or, I don't know if anybody else is on Twitch right now, but this is, if you're looking for people to play with, which is what I was looking for, people to jump in and play random games with, or meme around with and go all Torbjorns and play arcade and things like that. Or if you're going super try hard, these are kind of the people for you. It's run by a really he's laid back Venetian. He kind of runs the channel very well. He's not like a stern person. He's playing the games with everybody, but they also throw drunk tournaments. They throw serious tournaments, and it's just kind of a community that he's building. So I don't want to take any credit from him. I'm just part of the server. I just joined myself. But they're a good group if you're looking for somebody to play with. You can probably just Google Lion's Den Discord, and you'll probably find something. But I'm also, this year, I kind of want to boost my rank because I've dug myself a hole. So I want to do with what shitty spectator tools that they've given us, try to analyze my games. And I might call on Yisko or Volcha if they have time to wreck me and tell me how bad I am at my at this game. But other than that, I think we're kind of wrapping up for the night. Make sure you guys give us a, subscribe on YouTube. Help us out this year. You guys have done so many awesome things getting us to where we are now. So for the second full year of Watchpoint, hopefully everything turns out even better. If you guys want to watch us live, we're on Twitch on Thursdays around 7 p.m. We're usually never exactly on time. It's still just very much a hobby for us guys. So give us a little, wiggle room. But other than that, thank you so much for watching this week, and hopefully we'll see you guys next week. Have a good night. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.